Hey guys, it's Morgan here, and today I wanted to go through my book journal. So I recently completed, or I finished all the pages in this little notebook, this tiny little notebook. It is a B6.5 size, which I think means it's like half of a B6, but it is very skinny. It's only got 96 pages or so. And I've already used the first signature of it when I decided to repurpose it as a book journal. It'd basically been in storage for many years, and I just dug it out and decided to continue using the rest of the pages as a book journal. And now it is finished, and I'm very happy about that project that I executed. And on this channel, we stan Vladimir Nabokov. But that's not the only author that I read, even though he has had a major impact on my reading trajectory and my reading tastes. And Vladimir Nabokov shows up very strongly in the pages of this book journal. But, you know, all of my books that I read or novellas that I complete after I finish them, they go in here. I write a little bit about them, think about them. And yeah, today I just wanted to walk through this book journal, flip through it, take a little trip down memory lane. So this is the book that I have. This book is a B6.5, and I know that because it has this sticker on the back that says B6.5, along with this kind of blurb about the design concept of this notebook. But I basically bought this notebook at least 7 or maybe 8 years ago in a airport somewhere. But it's made by Paper O. It's called the Ondulo Natural. I looked for it on Amazon. You can still find it. So it's nothing particularly special, but I guess in the airport I have nothing better to do, so I just bought it. And I used kind of like the first couple pages of it for just like work stuff, and just like taking random notes. I took some notes here for gifts that I wanted to give to my boyfriend, and this was supposed to document some of the things that I was climbing at the time, you know, in like 2019. But then about one signature in, I gave up on it. So it wasn't until basically September or October of 2024 that I decided to repurpose the rest of this, you know, the majority of it was completely blank at the time, and use it as a book journal. So I made this list of the books that I had read up until September, October of 2024, and this was going to be the first page of my book journal. And I discovered a couple of things that I liked or disliked about this notebook as time went on. One thing that you will notice is that it is narrow. It is supposed to be slender, which is good, I guess, for ease of carry, for just not feeling overwhelmed by the size of the page. But it's also just not a lot of space, so it kind of forced me to limit my writing and my reflections about the books themselves. So I started with like kind of an overview of what I wanted to read, which or what I had read to that point in time. And so it was probably around October that I started. And so like this was what I had planned on reading in October. But yeah, it's very bare bones. It's just using a pen and not very pretty, just sort of utilitarian. And it turned out that I'd actually flipped 2 pages when I had meant to flip only 1 page. So I had to go back later and try to figure out what to do with like this spread. And so I used this spread to talk about books I really wanted to read, and then what I did not finish in 2024. Clearly what I wanted to read was like all of Nabokov's books in Russian. I think as of September, October 2024, I'd only read The Defense. So I had like, you know, all of his Russian oeuvre to look forward to. And I wanted to finish Ada or Ardor because I had not finished that when I tried to read it in the first earlier part of that year. And then I talked about the target number of books I wanted to read, which was, clearly that. And in September, I was eyeing a trip to Italy. And so I clearly had a lot of books about Italy that I wanted to get under my belt before hitting the shores and hitting the land in Milan. And so I did accomplish all of this in September because my trip was in October. So I had this list of a program of Italian books that I was going to get through. And yeah, like I did those. I did everything in this list eventually. I don't think I went back and checked anything off, but it happened. And then, oh, interesting. So I wonder if I had left this page blank. Yeah, I think that's what I had done. I had written best fiction of the year and then best nonfiction of the year, just like in two halves of this one page. And then I left this blank and I came back and filled it in at the end of 2024, probably early January 2025. And first place of last year went to the Leopard. Shock, shock, it's not a Nabokov. But yeah, the Leopard was just really, really phenomenal. And best nonfiction was Revolutionary Spring, about the revolutions of 1848. So it looks like the first the first real entry was about the Leopard, finished November 15, 2024. I gave it 5 stars. What I wanted to do with my, the spread was kind of talk about the book, but also think about the themes. And I wanted to put it in this little rectangle. That was the ideal at the time. And then I had a couple of quotes. So I had many different ideas about how I was going to use this. This was the first, sort of model version, model review, and it didn't really work all that well. It was just kind of random, it turned out. Yeah, and I guess that's it. So I only wrote 3 of these pages for the Leopard. And then I guess I thought I had another thought about using this book as a piano diary. So I play piano. I'm making my way through a mega project of doing all of Bach's fugues, and I thought I would maybe use this as a piano diary. Didn't continue that. I guess this was just the one-off page. The next book that I completed was My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This was still in my Italian journey. And at this point, it would have been after I came back from Italy, in November, but I still wanted to finish up that program of Italian books that I had set up for myself. I only got 2 pages in for this, which is really not a lot of text, it turns out. And I had bought also by this point some gold markers. I wanted to kind of jazz this up because I think from the first spread about the Leopard, it became extremely obvious that this would look super boring if I only just wrote in it with one colored pen. So I bought some gold pens. I bought a gel pen, and then I bought this brush pen, just no name, no brand, off Amazon. And it turns out that this paper is it's not great quality, but the gel pen still stays quite some time on the surface of the paper. So the paper is absorbent, but not absorbent enough that gel pen still doesn't smear on it very, very easily. So I have basically, if I have to use this gold gel pen, which I will do throughout the rest of this book, I keep this this little piece of marketing that they threw into this book as essentially blotting paper, which doesn't function that well because it's not it's not real blotting paper, but at least it did something. And I had started also drawing a little book and writing the name of the novel or the book that I finish inside this little drawing of a book. Clearly it smudges, and that was going to be something I was going to battle throughout my book journal journey. I also put some fanfic in here. Clearly I was reading some fanfic here, and this is what I read, and these made a big impression on me, so I put them in this book. At this point, I was also trying trying to like introduce some visual interest into this little book. And so I put some of these washi tapes in here, which I had recently gotten. I was very excited to use, but I don't really know how to use, and I still don't really know how to use. I liked the program of Italian books and the Nabokov program that I had sort of set out for myself at the beginning of my book journey. So I wanted to continue that here with a program of German books and a program of adultery books. Yeah, this, you know, it's good to, I think it was ambitious, and I didn't get through all of these. I got through Effie Briest, which is part of the program of German books, which originally inspired this adultery book list. These are like the three main European adultery books of the 19th century. And yeah, I mean, I read Effie Briest, so there's that. More Nabokov. This was my idea for putting together a list of books that I needed to read first before I could really appreciate Nabokov. So I wanted to read Invitation to a Beheading, The Despair, and The Gift, and yet I kind of knew that they had taken a lot of either direct inspiration or were very similar to other works of fiction. So I wanted to read The Trial by Kafka first. I wanted to read The Double by Dostoevsky. And for The Gift, I mean, like, apparently that one just references the entire scope of Russian literature. And so at least I wanted to get The Overcoat, because apparently we all came out of Gogol's Overcoat, and that was my plan. This page, clearly I wanted to just sort of look forward and design my future reading. Okay, so another like little journal entry about my piano practice, Bach's Fugues, and then back into the book journal, If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. I finished that in late December, and at this point I was trying to use like this gold colored wavy box for the themes. Reading is deep, yo. Yeah, I gave this book like a 2 stars out of 5. I did not like it at all. And I also started to sort of divide the segments, or like the sections of my thought, into headed sections that I would give a little box in gold around. So sexism was a major probably unintentional theme of If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. And so I had made a little box and I wrote about that. Then I embarked on my journey to read all of those German books, and I started right at the beginning with The Sorrows of Young Werther by Goethe. So I gave this one 3 stars, and I pretty much liked it. Not sure if I had a ton to write about it, but yeah, so 3 pages. I think, oh, actually, no, 4 pages. So one of the things that I noticed about, well, the fact that I was writing in a B6.5 size notebook was that it's very easy to fill up the pages of this notebook. If I write big, and I don't think I necessarily write like extremely big, but I might only get like 5 words across on a single line. And this is not a lined notebook. Probably should have mentioned that at the beginning, but it's not a lined notebook. So they're like not even. If I want to write like with big spaces in between them, I can. And so it's very easy to just like run up the page count, essentially. I would say 4 pages was what I settled on for like, if I really liked that book, I would try to write more than 2. You know, this is a great example, If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, of a book that just I did not want to write about because I hated it. So I just wanted to like get it out of my mind as quickly as possible. And so I only wrote 2 pages about, and like half of it was critiquing the sexism in the book. But for The Sorrows of Young Werther, which I gave 3 stars, I wrote 4 pages on. So read from that what you will. And then a couple days after, I finished The Golden Pot by E.T.A. Hoffmann. I really liked it, actually. The headings here were a different kind of reading, the craft, and so is this a good book? There's a lot of smearing of this gold pen that just occurs all over the place. And at this point, it became clear that when I would eventually finish this notebook, I needed to get a different notebook that took this pen either better or get like a better system for not smudging the ink that comes from this pen. So I only took three pages for The Golden Pot. Effie Briest. Okay, yeah, Effie Briest. Oh my God. Well, I didn't love it, but I think I wrote like a shit ton about it. I wrote 5 pages essentially about Effie Briest. The headings are ambiguous in all meanings of the word, narrative choices, Prussia, and I guess the themes are these. Yeah, and then I started making a list of male fantasy tropes, I think because having read If on a Winter's Night Traveler, then like Effie Briest in succession, it really pissed me off, all of the stereotypes of women that were in these 2 books. I'll also note that I got these washi tapes. I got this, I got a couple of these bear stickers that I wanted to just stick in there for visual interest. But I still don't know how to use stickers. I still don't know how to break up all of the text. And I'm just kind of using like text essentially to break up text, like paragraph indenting, these titles and headings, and sometimes these theme blocks. I read the trial. I think I didn't hate it, but it wasn't great. I think because it's just an unfinished work, it doesn't have a cohesive theme to it. It doesn't have consistency across the chapters. And of course, like Max Brod put those chapters together in the way that he thought they were supposed to be organized in. So who knows if that's what Kafka really intended. The themes in my mind at the time were life being a probationary period, I guess, because there was that whole segment about the law in the trial. And then modern life in an office is oppressive, and the squalor behind modern cities. Allegory, yeah, it's a big part of the trial. So, having read the trial, I was ready to read Invitation to a Beheading. I think I'm about like halfway through the notebook at this point. I liked it a lot, but I clearly didn't well, actually, I shouldn't say I liked it a lot. I only gave it 3 stars, 3 stars out of 5. And it's Vladimir Nabokov, so kind of disappointing. I guess I did do a little video rating Vladimir Nabokov's short novels, and I gave 3 stars, Invitation to a Beheading. So check out that video if you want more of my thoughts about Invitation to a Beheading. This is the little doodle of the beautiful moth that occurs towards the end of Invitation to a Beheading, and the spider that is a prominent character in that book. I guess I just had a lot of questions. I had a lot of, I thought there were a lot of loose ends in Invitation to a Beheading. Is Emmy a positive or negative character? Is there hope for anyone in the Invitation to a Beheading world? Yeah, who knows? Okay. At this point, I took stock of the VN short stories I wanted to read and other VN books that I will read. I remember being very adamant about that intention. And yeah, at this point, this is what I wanted to read. Oh, right. So January review. I started doing these summaries, I guess. I thought it would be helpful, and because I saw it on YouTube, I wanted to try doing a monthly review of the books that I had read. And here there's kind of an interesting thing that I would like to point out, which is that all of those people who do the monthly reviews, they're reading 5 or 6 or more books. And like, I can't read that fast. And moreover, if you're reading like a serious book, like if you're reading Effie Briest or The Trial, or like even say The Sorrows of Young Werther or The Golden Pot, there's just no way you can. I just think it doesn't make sense to do one of these superficial monthly reviews for serious books. I mean, people write dissertations about them. I don't think they're going to write dissertations about like, you know, your average like New York Times hot bestseller, with like dragons and fairies and whatnot. So anyway, I don't know. I tried to do it because I saw it on social media essentially. Then I read Gaudy Night. This one's a reread. I love Gaudy Night by Dorothy Sayers. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I liked, and I clearly didn't dedicate that much space to it. But oh yeah, one thing that I did think was very interesting was just all of the hidden, like layered, really, really deep sexist assumptions that are not exactly opposed by Sayers that show up in Gaudy Night. There is this, sort of association with if you're a virgin, you're an intellectual, and then you have integrity, but it might also lead to insanity because you are like a repressed virgin and you just need a man. And if you're married, that is associated with a lack of intellectual integrity. And Harriet is afraid of being devoured by whimsy. Very stupid conflations made by Sayers, as if you couldn't get love outside of marriage, as if you needed to give up your independence of thought after marriage. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my problems with Gaudy Night. Nobody really talked about it, but like it's there. It's always frustrating to see that. Okay, Mary. So Mary, wow, so good. Nappy does it again. Clearly there's no rhyme or reason as to what I put in my reviews. Classic Nabbyisms. This is just like a list of things that show up in Mary that I recognize from other Vladimir Nabokov books. The walking on the hands, biting a chair with teeth. Oh my god, yeah, that was from Invitation to a Beheading. And I mean, this one I don't really give the headings with the boxes around them in gold. I just kind of like freeform write about what I think of Mary. And then at the end here, I did a little illustration of the boarding house. So Mary takes place in a boarding house in Berlin with all of these Russians who live in there. And there are 6 rooms, and he gives a description of who lives in what room and what the corridor looks like. And so I thought, at the end that it would be great to just like diagram it all out. And yeah, like this is it. I mean, I think he being Nab, would be so proud of me for doing this. Okay, and then I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. Oh my god, let's just like move on from A Court of Thorns and Roses. I think I mean, what more needs to be said about it? It's really popular, and they had it on Amazon Audible as a free audiobook. So I read it. They clearly wanted to get you hooked on the first one, so you would like read the others in the series. And I didn't. I don't think I even rated. Oh no, I rated it 1 star. Yeah. So then I read Nabokov's Favorite Word is Mauve by Ben Blatt. And I didn't read all of this book. I only read this book to read, I was attracted by the title. I mean, what is that title? And it's basically a book that analyzes a corpus of American and I guess other corpuses of English fiction. And he pulls out a couple of statistical truths from that corpus, which is apparently these are the most used Nabokov the most used Nabokov words, more than in the corpus of historical American English. Mauve, banal, and pun. I love it. I love it. I mean, like, it's so emblematic. It's so perfect summing up of what Nab is all about. Like, mauve is like the man's color, V or B, I guess. This is the mauve color for him in his synesthesia mentality. And then banality is what he hates. And puns, wordplay, of course, that is what he would reference a lot. I also wanted to draw attention to how he associated colors with particular sounds, particular letters in the alphabet, which he talks about in Speak Memory. And yeah, that's how, this is my little disquisition on how mauve is Vladimir's color. Despair, wow, yeah, damn, I loved it. Despair, he gave it 5 stars. There's quite a bit of smearing, and as you can tell, like there's a, not an insignificant amount of show through on this paper, which was something that I was going to have to fix in my next book journal. The titles here are Simply a Masterpiece, Wordplay, and maybe too heavy-handed. Yeah, I mean, Despair, it's all about that double. He doesn't really make things subtle in that novel. And I wanted to highlight some bravura passages in the novel that I really loved. New Year's Eve, Human Lightning. This is a scene where Hermann is taking a flash photo, and he is the human lightning, lighting up the scene. Love it. The double, so I finished Despair, and I read the double after I read Despair because I kind of, I don't know, I did it out of order. And I had read this article by Eric Naiman, and he had decided to do this exercise where he would read the double as if it was written by Nabokov and try to find the Nabokovian parts of the double by Fyodor Dostoevsky, which was written like almost 100 years, 90, 80 years before Despair was written. And so I tried to read the double as if it were a Nab book. So I wrote notable Nabbyisms. I'm my own murderer. Like I would believe this if this was, this is clearly actually just literally just from Despair. This is a quote from both the double and Despair, I think. So I decided to keep doing this February and March, like these monthly reviews, combining the books I read in those 2 months because, yes, January was a banner month and I read 6 books, but I just can't read like that fast. Some months I don't read that much, and if that's a really heavy book, Despair and the Double, both serious literary novels, you can't read a gajillion works and have the same amount of care and attention to each of them. I'd also decided not to finish a couple of books here that I put at the end of my wrap-up. DNF's The Emigrants / Austerlitz by W.G. Sebald, and Henry V by Shakespeare. All right, because I saw a performance of Henry IV in like one mammoth marathon production, and I wanted to finish the Henriade, but I clearly gave up. More Nab, The Feud, The End of a Beautiful Friendship by Alex Beam. I gave this 4 stars. Wow, there's quite a lot of smearing on this page. But this was an interesting read for me. This author, Alex Beam, he's written other works of like reportage, I think. So a lot of this novel came across in tone like one of those snappy, fast-moving, popular nonfiction books where Well, it comes across that way, but it also, I think, deliberately has that tone because Alex Beam wanted to be as good as Nabokov in his funny writing. Ludist versus literalist. This is how Alex Beam characterizes V. and Edmund Wilson. And I think he, Beam himself, wanted to take on the persona of the ludist in his language, in his writing at least, of the feud. I gave it 4 stars. I ripped through this book in a couple of days. It was so interesting to see the real side of my hero, Vladimir Nabokov. And yeah, just a good, nice, quick, fluffy book. The Overcoat. Yeah. Nabokov, my guide. I wrote, I'm letting Nab in and through his lectures on Russian literature be my guide to Russian canon. Akakia Akakievich, continuing to use a little bit of decorative, I mean, not a lot of decorative elements in this whole book, but I'm trying. So it's a short story by Gogol. I thought I only needed to dedicate 1 page to it. And then I read this book called People Who Like Home, or 喜欢家的人. This book was in Chinese, and I have like a whole separate kind of a scratch notebook with all of the actual, like, pages and pages of vocab that I have forgotten over my years of not reading or writing or speaking Chinese, that I decided to just get down that important vocab. Laughter in the Dark. 5 stars. Oh my God, I loved it. So 4 pages to a stellar read. I started writing about it pre-finish, and then I finished it. After I finished it, I wrote some more thoughts about it. And that was because as I was reading Laughter in the Dark, I was like on the edge of my seat. I talk about this in my video about Laughter in the Dark, but I was so excited that I couldn't stop thinking about it while I was reading it. And generally, I only put books in this book, in this journal after I finish them. But I thought I needed to, like, I am nervous, distraught, angry, anxious. No author has ever made me feel like this except Nabokov. Yeah. That's just Nab. April. This is the April wrap up. I will continue. That was my intention, to continue to read more Nab, King, Queen, Knave, and Glory, and Gift. Yep. Glory. So I jumped straight from like one Nab book to another Nab book. Glory was, I had a lot of fun with Glory, but I only gave it 3 stars. I think some people would probably hate it, honestly. And I only really liked it because of the trains. Oh my God. So trains are a huge theme in Glory. And I wrote just a lot about the train theme. And as you can maybe have noticed at this point, I gave up on writing like the important themes in a work in that little box. I didn't think it was like helpful anymore. And like I stopped basically doing that. When was the last time I did that? I don't even know, but I don't know. By this point, you can kind of understand that there's no rhyme or reason as to like what I put in this book. It's just whatever I think after finishing a book, whether that's kind of analysis about how the author got to the place where he intended to go with writing the novel, or a particular theme that really spoke to me or is very prominent in the novel, or quotes from the novel, or just like my thoughts about the novel. This was my attempt at doing an illustration. God, I'm like ashamed of it, but so essentially, a walk through a dark wood, a winding path into a wood, is a major image in Glory. And I decided to try to illustrate it a little bit, but like I'm really not very good at using washi tape, and I just don't know what the hell I'm doing. I like tried to cut out this like wavy thing out of like a strip of washi tape. Yeah, whatevs. These are some quotes from Glory. So I tried to indent them with this gold tape. I'm trying to use gold. I mean, gold is I think that was one of the things I had envisioned at the beginning, that gold was going to be the accent color. So I cut like strips from this washi tape and put them in the beginning as an indent to indicate that something was going to be a quote. The nose, more Gogol, more Nab, more ever more Nab, just trying to get closer and closer to Nabokov. I really like the nose. It's a short story though, so I kind of was trying to match the length of the work with how long I was writing about it. Okay, now we're coming up to more recent times. Mansfield Park, and we're approaching the end of this book. Mansfield Park, oh my goodness. Okay, so, oh my God. Mansfield Park, how long did I dedicated 6 pages to Mansfield Park. Even though I only gave it 2 stars, my God. I just had like so many thoughts. I was so frustrated by Mansfield Park. I don't know what to say. Like, yeah, like I am not one of the fans of Mansfield Park. Let's put it like that. And I didn't even like write anything else, I guess. Oh, well, I guess. So I have pre-finished notes and then finishing thoughts. Yeah, so it actually took me 7 no, sorry, no. Still 6 pages, sorry, to finish writing all my thoughts about Mansfield Park. Also, maybe I can just say here that I had started using a fountain pen. So I got into stationery partly because of this book, and I was like kind of researching what else I was going to do, like what other books I was going to, what other, journals I was going to get after I finished this one, since it was wanting in so many ways. And so I got into fountain pens. And so this is like one of these dirty transitions, like a dirty fill, where I just like put another cartridge onto the pen and continue writing through as it changes to the new color. King, Queen, Knave. I saw a little brief revival of the themes box. Clearly an afterthought tacked onto the end. I really like King, Queen, Knave. I gave it 4 stars. I wanted to do pre-finished thoughts because I had some predictions about how King, Queen, Knave was going to end. And these are my predictions. Martha's killed by Dreyer. Dreyer's project is to disguise himself as someone. And this fits with the inventor being in the same hotel room as Franz. And I mean, these things did not happen. So my predictions were not right. But yeah, I was thinking about this book a lot as I was reading it. My May and June spread, quote unquote spread. I mean, it's just like my thoughts and some things I wanted to read. I'd started to use this last part of the spread as plans for the future. So I think I did this May and June summary probably on June 29th or something like that. But I finished The Sandman the next day, so this really should have gone on here, but it doesn't matter. I was reading E.T.A. Hoffman. I don't know. I think it was because it was part of my it was in my program of German literature. Yeah, I think so. Let me just find that again. Here we go. Yeah, E.T.A. Hoffman. I read The Golden Pot and I really liked it. So I wanted to read more E.T.A. Hoffman. So I decided to read The Sandman, his most famous short story. Loved it. 4 stars. Again, I'm like, just every time I go through a book, I want to compare and contrast it to Nabokov. And I just talk about how Nabokov, like the narrator, is. I love how E.T.A. Hoffman kind of like breaks through the fourth wall with his narrators. Okay, and this is the last book that I fill up this little journal with, and it takes the remainder of the pages here. So, and most of these pages, so like a good 5 pages, are dedicated to just listing out the stories. So I read the stories of Vladimir Nabokov. Yeah, there's not even like a little cover for the stories of Vladimir Nabokov. It's just the stories of Vladimir Nabokov. And yeah, I went through it and I gave a star rating to each story out of 68 stories. This is from, the smearing from the opposite page. 68 stories. My favorite were Spring in Fialta, Tyrants Destroyed. I mean, I gave First Love 3 stars, but we're not counting that because it's basically nonfiction. I liked A Visit to the Museum. I loved A Nursery Tale. I loved A Matter of Chance. And where is the passenger? Yeah, here's The Passenger. I loved The Passenger. Oh, so good. Finished July 23rd, 2025. Yep, so this is it. This is the last page of the book. So yeah, that was my book journal. I'm definitely going to continue the habit of keeping a book journal. I'm going to change the formatting of the actual notebook a little bit. I didn't really like the this flap at the beginning. It's kind of handy in theory, but then it gets really like annoying towards the end of the book when you have to try to like keep it from closing on you. But I did like how this was unlined. I grew to enjoy the slimness of it, and I think in the next book journal, I'm not going to be shy about just letting the pages fly and just writing through 5, 6, 7 pages at a time. Clearly, that is what I like to do, and I'm going to try not to worry so much, basically, about making the pages look pretty. But yeah, I really enjoyed using this as a memory keeper, and I was kind of surprised going through it right now how much I remembered from all of the books that I read that I wrote about. And of course, a lot of them were Vladimir Nabokov books, so I'm obsessed with that man. So it kind of makes sense that I would remember a lot about them. If you followed along thus far, it's been a really long video, but thank you so much. Let me know what you enjoyed from this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts about any of the books that I read or the habit of keeping a book journal. Yeah, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.